passion for seeing people involved. I personally don't like the idea of being people wasting. I don't like to see people disengaged, and there's an awful lot of energy, knowledge and intelligence out there which isn't utilised. I was talking to that gentleman there earlier on, and I said, well, I used to do a whole day's presentation on this. This is 2 small points in relation to this, which you may not be aware of. And these are 2 reasons, as far as the law is concerned, as to why you could, should and must consider using a variety of people in your working environments and what have you. Right? Just genuinely a little bit of law. There's 2 things that I think is relevant in relation to what we're talking about today. And the first one is reasonable adjustments. Does anybody know what reasonable adjustments are? Everybody's going to put their hands up and say they do. No. Well, you would, I guess you. In very short terms, 1995 came up one of the best pieces of legislation, in my opinion, that any government has ever put in place in my lifetime. It's called the Disability Discrimination Act. And it actually quantified, it actually said about what disabled people are supposed to be, or people with disabilities, I think they call them, people with disabilities are, and it actually quantified what people's responsibility are or is towards those particular people. And they came up with this idea of reasonable adjustments. And there is loads of money, I don't know if as much as there used to be, but there's loads of money out there. If you want to take somebody on in voluntary capacity or a paid capacity, in your company, for your firm, whatever department you work for, there is money out there to actually allow you to make adjustments so those people get like as much as possible a level playing field in relation to doing that job. I.e., the carrot is the fact we'll give you lots of money and lots of assistance. The stick is don't discriminate against disabled people because of the fact you say we can't take them on because of. Right? So it works both those particular ways. In this rapid run through is genuine occupational requirement. Oh, by the way, I'll move on from that, but this is now incorporated the new piece of legislation, Equality Act, which lots and lots of things like Sex Discrimination Act, they've all thrown together in this one act in 2010, rather than being one from 1972, one from 77, one blah, blah, whatever, right? So, why is disability different? If you take out every other factor other than those listed there, if you look at the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, none of those things dictate that one of those people is better than the other. Never mind whether they're efficient, never mind whether they're rude or whether they're pleasant or nice or whatever, based upon those things only. So if you're black, it doesn't make you any better or worse than being white. Female, no better or worse than being male. Older is no better or worse than being younger, bearing in mind the genuine occupational requirement we're going to talk about now. Being gay makes no difference in relation to whether you're straight. Single is no different to married, based upon those things, right? The legislation specifically said, it was quite a bold thing actually, because the first time it's ever been said, disabled people are different. And the reason they're different is because of the fact that their impairments can cause them issues in relation to competing with able-bodied people. So that's where the reasonable adjustments come in, and it says a disabled person can be at a disadvantage. So legally, you can and you should accommodate that with reasonable adjustments, right? Genuine occupational requirements. The law says that you can discriminate against people, quite legally, as long as you can prove that there's a genuine occupational requirement, i.e. Damien could not work as a scaffolder. Well, no, it's just true. I mean, it's a fact. He could not work as a scaffolder. So they could say, he could go for an interview or apply for a job, and they'd say, I'm sorry, you can't, you're a wheelchair user, you can't be considered for this job. You can't say, for argument's sake, you can't have a female scaffolder, because that presumes that all women are weaker than men, which is not correct. So therefore, in certain circumstances, like decency is another way, right? If you've got a job which involves, let me think, working in a spa or a leisure centre, and the person involved has to go into female changing rooms all the time, that's all they ever go. That person can legally be just a woman. So therefore, lawfully, they can turn around and say, that's a genuine occupational requirement. In relation to disability, you can turn around and do the positive thing. You can't turn around and do the negative thing. You can't say a person's disabled, we don't want them. But you can, if you're of a mind to do so, and this is what we're trying to convince you, this is why we're talking to you today, you can turn around and say, let's do the right thing. Let's make provisions for that person so they've got the opportunity to do things. The grateful issue, I put this in because I wanted to, it's a little bit controversial in some circles. Some people say it's awful that you should say that disabled people and people with disadvantages in some other way would be grateful for you actually taking them on. I don't think so. I think it's a wonderful thing, because what it means is if somebody has not been given an opportunity in normal circumstances, they are grateful. And they're more like, well, there you are, he's not his head behind you. They are grateful, and they tend to be, as I said earlier on, committed, appreciative, honest. They've got a desire to interact and belong as part of a group and as individuals. They're compelled to impress, and they're excited to learn new skills because they didn't get the chance before, and you might be the person giving them that chance. And the question I'd ask there is, it just simply in relation, does social stigma prevent us from talking about disabled people being grateful for being given a genuine opportunity? Not a, oh God, we better take them on because of whatever. That's not a genuine opportunity at all. But if somebody turns around from the best of reasons and says, we're going to give this person a chance, then we haven't wasted our time standing up here today, because we're doing this from the point of view that we're trying to convince you that it's a good thing to do, to integrate people, involve people in your businesses.